So, Ashley, what
Yes.
do you have in your hand? What kind of a banner or flag is it?
Well, I have here the transgender flag in honor of celebrating our transgender friends out in the world who
Need our support.
they need our support. They're having a pretty hard week this week with I think it was the New York Times that announced that this administration wants to start defining gender as only men and women, and that it is immutable, and that it has to do with body parts. And so if you have one set of body parts, then you are automatically a man. If you have another set of body parts, you're automatically a woman. Which
Assigned at the birth.
assigned at birth, which is problematic for many reasons.
How do they want to do that? Through legislation, or do we know at all?
I think there's a memo somewhere. I haven't had a chance to totally look at it, but
Because that's
like, how do you do this, right?
Yeah, what kind of stupid thing it is? You know, it reminds me from the realm of mathematics. I don't know whether you heard, but there were attempts, because in the Bible, a pi number for calculating the circumference of the circle and these other things in mathematics, because in the Bible it is 3.
Right.
In Tennessee, they wanted to legislate that for all purposes in Tennessee, it would be 3, like 100 years ago. And you know, I think it is similarly stupid. I'm sorry. You know, no matter what you do, you cannot simply by legislating or declaring something from the office change reality. That's,
right. And it's ridiculous on a couple levels. There's the fact that this is an attempt to erase trans people and non-binary people just entirely from the equation, which, I mean, they exist, they're here. You can't act like they don't exist. But also it's really harmful to our friends who are intersex. And for those who don't know, intersex means that you have some kind of biological situation that's not just XX or XY chromosomes, or having typical sex organs or something like that. And that's a naturally occurring phenomenon. And so not only is this kind of legislation bad for trans people, it's particularly bad for intersex people. It's going against folks who exist. It's going against science. And in my opinion, it's going against faith.
And I think that it's going against even, you know, people like I am, who might be straight or hetero or whatever is the proper language for it. Because
well, that's sexual orientation. For your gender identity, you would be cisgender.
Yeah, cisgender. Then thank you for.
Yeah.
But
people get confused all the time.
Yeah. I consider it to be harmful for me as well.
Yes.
Because I think that just defining the spectrum, you know, and a biological spectrum, and starting to put it into these very narrowly defined categories is simply wrong.
It absolutely is. And I was just thinking about, we look at scripture every week. We study scripture to do sermons. We study scripture to do Sunday school lessons.
What about eunuchs?
Yeah.
There.
And eunuchs are not the same as trans folks or intersex folks. But when we look, but when we look at the way that the Bible handles eunuchs and how there is biological variance going on there is respect for differences in gender roles and in gender expressions and things like that with eunuchs. The first person baptized as a Christian after Jesus is gone is the Ethiopian eunuch.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of trans folks, that's a very important, empowering story, even though it's not 100% parallel to their own.
And there are direct pronouncements by Jesus himself about these matters.
Right.
So you know, you cannot simply take this and start railroading it according to your prejudices. That would be my.
Plus, we read a Bible that talks about people who have identity changes. We have a Bible that talks about people dying and being resurrected. We have a Bible that talks about people being made new. We have a Bible of people having their names changed. We have this Bible that we read that tells all of these stories of confirmation and transformation and creation. And it feels weird to say, but we don't mean in that way. We don't mean your experience. And so from a faith perspective, this also feels extraordinarily wrong. And
it's psychologically harmful. It is spiritually harmful.
Exactly.
It is limiting the grace of God, I would say.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is, I am a cis woman. I was assigned female at birth, and I still feel like a female. You're a cis man. We're not trans, we're not intersex. But there are things that we can do, both as individuals and as people of faith, to help our siblings out there. I think one of them is to
raise our voice.
To raise our voices, to let people know that this is not acceptable and we do not stand by this. We can look at organizations such as More Light Presbyterians, as Fierce, as Sylvia Rivera Law Project, as Audre Lorde Project. There are so many organizations that do work around trans issues and around trans legal issues, Trans Lifeline. And reach out to them, volunteer, offer money if we can. We can vote. The people who are making these policies are there because people voted them in. We can vote as individual citizens for that. And we can make sure that we do the work and education for ourselves so that we know how best to be there and show love and support for our trans siblings and our intersex siblings and all of those who are going to be harmed by this.
And defend them,
Yes.
defend them in public square, but defend them as you can occasionally hear people being picked upon or harassed in stores and so on, when people then stand up to those abusers and defend our siblings, as you said.
Yeah, we are called to be on the side of the marginalized, and I think that's one way to do that. But at the end of the day, if we are going to be loving and faithful in the way that we are called to be loving and faithful, I think that we need to show our support and love, both as just people every day and as people of faith, because religion gets used to hurt. And I think that we need to be able to stand up and say, no, not this time.
And definitely not in our congregation.
No.
We are trying to be a place which is open and welcoming and affirming and a safe space for everyone.
May we continue learning, and may other places do the same.
Amen.
Amen.